Recording in progress.
All right. Good evening. I'd like to call the January 23rd meeting to order. Everyone please rise for the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. So quick updates. Old Turnpike Road Bridge between addresses 197 and 210 is still closed. Please use alternate routes. Also, I'd like to announce that the Pop-Up Food Pantry is returning on January 29th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Right here in the Senior Center at 12 Laurel Avenue. And thereafter, it will always be at the last Monday of the month. Just want to say that, you know, it was a 6-month pilot program that ended in December, and we had approached the Hudson Valley Food Bank about bringing it back and maybe making it permanent. In our meetings with them, they did mention that they had some concerns about the safety and the security and the heat issue at Foxcroft, especially for the volunteers from ARC who are working the event. So they did have some concerns about bringing it back to that location. So we did offer the senior center here to be used for that location, and they were very happy with that idea. I do know that we did receive quite a bit of phone calls from concerned folks that wanted to keep the program at Foxcroft, which is great. Unfortunately, we have the issue. Management isn't giving us the right facilities to be able to hold it there, and the safety of and the comfort of our volunteers is paramount. So what we did was we reached out to Rolling V to see if they could offer transportation from Foxcroft to the Senior Center, which they did oblige. We're going to be posting the routes, but they're going to try to go to all the post offices, do all the pickups, and be able to bring everyone here. However, they did mention that it's based on participation. So if nobody gets on those buses for 2 months, they may discontinue doing it. So for those folks that like the program, want to be able to use the program, and it is a fantastic program, we ask that you participate. We do have forms to fill out here, but you can fill out forms online. It's not necessary. You could always show up on the day of, and we'll get you registered on the day of. So for the time being, we're going to have it right here, the last Monday of the month. We're going to have the Pop-Up Food Pantry. We're hoping we get good participation, especially in a central location like this. So at this point, we have no correspondence or liaison reports. I'd like to open it up to public comments. Anybody from the public?
Sorry, Jerry Skoda.
Please,
Where did you say you wanted us to,
Yeah, you can probably say right in the route.
go anywhere you want?
You're good there, Jerry.
Okay.
Actually, take a step to the left. You good? Thank you.
Oh,
Perfect.
Better.
Oh, the other camera.
Supervisor Ben Simon and members of the town board. I'm Jerry Skoda. I'm here tonight, I put my glasses on, to address you about the concern by town residents that the town comprehensive plan be followed, especially in the agricultural zones. I served on the zoning revision committee in 2018, along with a number of your current zoning board members. We did a survey to identify concerns. One of the major findings was that respondents were very concerned about preserving open space and protecting farmland for future generations. Once changed, open space and farmland never returns. It's gone forever. As a result of this input, the ag zone was expanded, plus single-family residential housing acreage was increased to a minimum lot size of 10 acres. The list of permitted uses was also defined. Recently, there have been examples of ignoring your zoning, your building codes, and the building department. The previous board recognized the importance of enforcing your codes and protecting zones. In fact, you have a blatant example of this currently in the Supreme Court. You must continue this effort by setting the example and enforcing the codes. Some of us are here tonight to make sure that the new board follows efforts of previous boards to enforce the town codes in our comprehensive plan. Spot zoning in ag zones is not compatible. High-density housing in areas not served by water and sewer districts does not work. Our soils, water, and infrastructure cannot support it. Plus, it goes against your comprehensive plan of preserving open space and agriculture. You also have a state and county designated agricultural district within your town. It's Ag District number 4. Remember, allowing major changes to your zoning plan only opens the door for disregarding the original intent of your plan. Also, your previous boards in November started working on a right to farm legislation. I'd like to make sure that you make sure that that work continues. I don't know what step it's in, but I'm sure you know, the current members of the staff can tell you where that is right now, because that's a high priority. Most of the towns in Sullivan County have done that. Fallsburg did not do it. Thank you, and we appreciate your interest in serving our community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next person is David Katz.
This good here?
You're fine.
Thank you, and welcome to the new board members. I did not coordinate my comments with Jerry beforehand, but they're in a similar vein. And I just thought that given that we're at the beginning of a new year with a new board, I wanted to address what I'll call a very foundational issue. And that is, I think, can you reassure the residents of Fallsburg that you are committed to the vision for land use?
Recording in progress.
Can you reassure the residents of Fallsburg that you're committed to the vision for land use that is enshrined in the comprehensive plan? It's a plan that I think serves us well because it's a plan that was developed with the common good in mind. Now, how can you set such a tone? It's things like really supporting the zoning board in whatever way you can, to enforce current zoning designations, and not, as Jerry said, breaking them up piece by piece. But it really goes to setting a tone that you believe in the comprehensive plan as a plan for the common good, and can you reassure us that you will stand behind it? So it's a question. I would love for the board to respond, if not now, at some point, perhaps in writing. But I just think it would be great for you at the beginning of this new term to set that tone for us. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone from the public want to speak before we close the public portion?
Yeah, I'd like to say something.
The board recognizes Vice Chairman Joe.
I'm gonna wear 2 hats today. The first hat is the legislature. We just put together a committee to go out and find other resources and getting rid of our garbage for the county. That'll be going forward in the future. Also, we extended our move Sullivan County into different parts of the town now, going to Mamakating. We did Woodridge last year, and we're gonna be extending it out to the western side of the county. Now, Joe Schmo, citizen now, Joe Perillo, I agree with Mr. Jerry says here that, you know, we put a plan together. I was a councilman for years. We put a comprehensive plan together then. It's, you guys tweaked it, the last administration tweaked it. We should respect the comprehensive plan, and, you know, like Jerry said, that is considered spot zoning, so I do agree with everything he says. More. Years ago, I'm the chair for the Republican Party, and we used to be able to use this facility next door for meetings. And the last administration said we couldn't use it anymore, and that goes with the Democrat committee too. I mean, we had to have a place that we could meet. This is a community center also. Actually, my administration put this together 10, 15, 20 years ago, and I think it should be used by the public. you know, for special events and functions, so I hope you can consider that. And, the last, town board, there was issues with the towing. Now, I know somebody's trying to change the rules, change the regulations we have in the town, but if there's a problem, we should have a meeting and find out what the problems are and fix it. I mean, I don't think it was broken, but if there's something that needs to be addressed and worked on, we should address the problems and fix it. And, because the system works pretty good right now. And that's it. Any questions about the legislature? Mrs. Ward is here also,
Hi.
and, that's it, that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Recording in progress.
Would legislature Ward want to speak?
No, I'm good. I'm just here to listen and so going.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Anyone from the public, from Zoom wants to speak?
Listen, we've lost it twice already. I
Okay.
don't even know if they can hear us right now. I'm hoping.
All right, so we'll close the public portion. So let's move on to agenda items. So first item on the agenda is motion to approve town board minutes dated 1/5/2024. Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
I have a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Number two, motion to approve town board minutes dated 1/8/2024.
Motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Number three, we're gonna table. There was an issue regarding how, the law itself, we're gonna go ahead and revisit that. So we're gonna move on to agenda item number 4. Motion to appoint James Legari to the grievance board.
Motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Alright, motion passes. Number 5, motion to approve warrant number 0124 dated 1/16/2024 in the amount of $231,142.28.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, motion number 6, motion to accept resignation letter from Timothy Dolgas of the Water Department dated 1/16/24 with the last day of January 31st, 2024.
Motion.
I have a
Second.
motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes. All right, so that's it for our legislative agenda. We do have a discussion item here regarding annexation into the village of Woodridge, several properties presented by Stephen Vigliante. Want to come up and present, sir?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I represent Mr. Charrick, who's put together a list of properties that he either owns or is in contract and has site control over. He's trying to figure out highest and best use of his property, wants to do something that's kind of consistent with other development within the town. I'll point out both these properties are just outside the village of Woodridge, which makes them eligible for annexation into the village. He's looking to do reasonable housing projects, similar in size and other projects within the village of Woodridge. You know, he's somewhat limited, if it stays in the town, as to the size of the amount of what he can build, which makes housing not really a viable use for it. So rather than look at other uses like camps or something else that would fit under the zoning code and might be, you know, not as desirable for the town, we're looking at, you know, primarily, you know, second home development. Provides a lot of tax assessment to the town, not a lot of use of services, no burden on the town, school district, or, you know, most of the interior roads are gonna be private, so not a lot of, you know, cost and kind of some upside. Both areas, I think, so the first set, I can pen these out to the board. Just do a quick highlight on some tax maps.
Just watch that corner.
Yes. So that's the first set are in and around Silver Lake, so they, Mountain Dale Road. Again, they would fall, some touch the R1, R2 zoning in the Village of Woodridge, so that is similar to our HR and R1 zoning. So, you know, it's 2 greater. The other pieces are on the Dairyland Road, the Dairyland Extension side. That one actually butts up against an already similar project, so it's just kind of tie into a project that's already built.
Steve, real quick on the first one here,
Yep.
'cause it's kind of small. So this, is this
It's
Mount,
Mountain Dale Road.
and where is, this is, we're like on Mount Dale?
This is like Silver Lake. This is, that's Old Turnpike. So that's
So we're like the Woodridge Apartments.
Like this way. So, I mean, really just to gauge the interest of the town board, as he's determining, again, the highest and best use of his property. I think, you know, this board would have certainly an opportunity to have some input, and we'd like to develop a project that would be amenable to both the town and the village. I have spoken with the mayor, that I believe the village would happily accept the property as an annexation. And I think the overall, you know, obviously we haven't gotten so far as to do an economic analysis, but the overall benefit to the town would far outweigh the, you know, any costs of services that would be rendered.
How many acres are the first and the second? Do you have any,
You know what, honestly, I could certainly provide that to you in an email. I didn't totally do it.
like a guesstimate, is it? If you had a guess. So, sorry for the pressure on you.
About, I think one's about 65. I'll get you that.
Okay.
Honestly, I'll get you
Yeah.
that. Sorry, too small.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Do you have, these are in 2 separate locations?
It's 2 separate projects, so it's not, I wanted to bring them both up for discussion.
So what about 323 East Pond Road, 29-1-30, it's 42,
That's the
48
second,
acres?
that's the second one that I
Who,
need.
yeah.
That's this one,
That's
right?
this one here. That's each one.
Okay, and the other one is Dairyland
All
Road?
the four, those are the 29s, and these are the 42s. I think, what, is it in my order?
Oh, I got you, one has access from Dairyland Road, the other one has access from East Pond Road.
Correct.
This is Sam's, these are Sam's properties, right?
So all the properties are either owned by Sam or controlled by Sam. Some are he's a contract vendor, so he's a contract to purchase.
So, my understanding, and maybe I'm wrong, I'd have to look back at my notes, but my understanding was that the Village of Woodridge was not willing to write a letter attesting to the amount of water, sewer, and water that they have to accept it. And that was the holdup. That was my understanding. I could be way wrong about that. And so the town.
These are,
I could be wrong.
now, Sean, that may very well be the case, and if that's the case, then you'd have to work with the village to develop those services for him. But yeah, no, at the end of the day, I'm not sure that, I wouldn't stand there and tell you that all the engineering's been completed. The real question is, that would be more of a negotiation or an issue, and we'd have to solve with the village.
Right, and I don't think there was ever, if I'm right, I don't believe there was ever correspondence after the request for a letter attesting to being able to take these projects into the Village of Woodridge. So without that, in fact, I'm pretty confident there was never communication after that. So how do we have, like, how does that start? I guess that's.
So I would tell you, I was involved with the project prior. I would, in my conversation with the developer, was simply to gauge the interest from both boards before we start spending money on engineering studies. Now, my conversation with the mayor of Woodridge was, if they didn't have services, they would work earnestly with us to, develop a plan and in fact, we would pay to get in and develop those services. I would tell you also that nothing's gonna happen on a development side until those questions are solved.
Yeah, and I think that was, I believe that was the issue, that was, am I wrong?
Yeah, no, you were right.
honestly, if there's no point in him spending that money, if this board's not willing to, assuming you can solve that problem, look, there's no benefit to going into the village except paying the taxes.
Right, I
If
mean,
you can't
answer,
solve it.
right,
So-
answer that question. and-
The answer is that we wouldn't go forward if we can't
Right.
solve that
So,
problem.
I mean, to me, it's the same, we're back at the same thing, answer that question, and then, you know, we can go.
They were
from there.
supposed to come back to us and answer that, and they didn't.
So I would ask you to give us your, I'm not asking for a decision tonight, we're not asking for a vote. If you're open to allowing the annexation, then it's not just a simple question that the village board can answer. It'll require cost and expense, and to do it correctly, have an engineer, work with the village engineer and make that determination on both projects, the two separate projects. My client's willing to do that, but he's not, I mean, to put that requirement, it seems to me it's putting the cart before the horse, because you're asking for the village to kind of commit to something that there may be 5 other reasons why this project doesn't make sense. And that I think my understanding of it last time, and again, I wasn't representing it, was that you were asking the village to allocate services to a project that may or may not ever happen.
No, not allocate, but a test.
Well,
to
that's-
having availability, not allocate, not give, not provide, but there was a distinct difference between what we were asking, which was a test to, that if this were to happen, you have the availability to do it, not you need to allocate it.
I would turn that into, and I'm not being facetious, but I would ask a real question. If this was the other way around, would you want to attest to having services available to something that may happen 2, 3, or 4 years in the future? I mean, it's just not a fair thing to ask a municipal board to do, because services are fluid. And what comes before a board, it's kind of like first come, first served. So whether I would tell you that I don't think it's relevant necessarily what services are available today, because there could be 3 other projects that are ready to build in the village of Woodridge that may take those services. Those projects may never happen and the services may be available. If they do happen, and Sam's gone through all this trouble, it's up to Sam or whoever is the developer to then solve that problem and provide either an impact fee or an agreement with the village.
No, I agree with that.
You know what I mean?
And that's where we would put that in a letter, with that in there, and then it outlines the entire plan, so this way it's known. I mean, holding them to the number or whatever, but the conversations and discussions never happen, that's the point, right? If those conversations and discussions happen, what you're saying makes 100% sense, and then you would put that in a plan. This is first come, first served, this is not a guarantee of services, but none of those things happen, that's the point.
So, just so I'm clear, if I were to speak to the village and they were to provide you a letter saying, we would gladly provide services to these projects, subject to availability, and if not, we'll work with the developer to build availability, that would be acceptable? Because I think is an easy thing not an easy thing to accomplish, but that's a fair thing to ask of the village at this point.
Then it would be for 5 of us to decide.
Yeah, as a board.
I have some questions or concerns. So I just want to say, I'm not against the idea of annexing town property into the village in general. I think we work out some of the details, it could be possible. My first question is water sewer. So 8 of these properties, the first 8 of these properties that's located in the Woodridge Mountaindale area is on the tail end of the Mountaindale Sewer District. So would you cut that off and then connect it to the village?
So, 2 things, the 2 scenarios, and obviously we'd be happy to listen to the town's position on both. It could go into the village and become an outside user of the Mountaindale sewer plant, if you were amenable to that. Otherwise, you would have to develop infrastructure to get it to the village plant. But either way, that's a conversation, again, if there's interest, that's a conversation we would work directly with the town and the village to see which is more amenable to both of them.
Yeah,
And the same thing happens with the water too, by the way. It's within the water districts and that side too.
That's right, yeah. And I know that the village wants us to take Davos back at some point, so, that's gonna be a bigger conversation.
Mhm.
The other thing is, I'm only looking at these properties as, you know, compared to what the actual village map looks like, and I'm worried that it could create islands inside the village where you have town property outside of the village, but it's physically surrounded by the village. So,
There are four lots that sort of, I could see what, you know, they sort of appear that way. They're not, it's not truly an island, but you're right, there would be on 2 or 3 sides village property.
yeah, well, accessible by road, yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't know if.
They're all on town roads, so they wouldn't be fully islands, but I understand where you're.
Right, well, you would pretty much have to go into the village to access the property and the, right, okay, so, I mean, I don't know if that's, aesthetics wise, it's kinda odd when you have a village map and then right in the middle, you have a little island that says this is not part of the village, and it's just,
Spot
It
town.
it doesn't, yeah, it's spot
Spot
town.
towning, that's what it is.
That's an interesting term.
My-
I've never heard it.
My-
It happens fairly often in other municipalities, but yeah.
Now, my other question has to do with, taxes. So this is approximately 170 acres and change with all these properties together. The assessed value is 229,800. Now, obviously, you know, when you build up on these properties, you know, the assessed value is gonna go way up. But, you know, town law, section 150, has a very special carve-out for the B fund, for the village police department, that prevents the village from contributing to public safety in the town. So two pieces.
Well, they have a police department, yes.
While they have more than 2 members annually of the police department. So, you know, just like, the village residents contribute to the highway department for the town, you know, not as much because they have their own. You know, when it comes to law enforcement or even code enforcement, our entire B fund has to be completely cut out from any of the village residents. So by taking $229,000 of assessed value outside of the town and putting it into the village, we immediately lose that revenue day one. Now, if it gets developed after a couple of years.
Recording in
The
progress.
assessed value goes way up and then the town ends up getting more from the value.
One house would be more.
Right, except
So
that'll go to the highway department, nothing still goes to the police department, so, you know, and then for that matter, it could take years. We're taking $229,000 off the assessed value for 2 or 3 or 4 years until these things get built, and then it comes back on, so there will be some impacts to the tax revenue there. So I'm just saying that that's kind of a concern, that there would be an immediate loss in tax revenue to the town, and the possible long, you know, again, money, it's all fungible, I'm sure, well, I don't know if you can really move highway funds into the police
You
department.
can't
You
move
can't.
B&A, I understand.
So, just kind of my concerns, just top of my head. Again, I'm not opposed to annexation, I just want to make sure that it's equitable. I don't know if the village is open to maybe giving us $229,000 of assessed value somewhere else in the village, take it out of the village and, you know.
I've never heard that asked. I mean, yes, $229,000 would, assessed value would then move into the village. Remember, you're not losing it completely because you do get a portion, just like any other property. So
Except for the police department.
$229,000,
The top of my head.
I'm looking at you, I'm thinking, we're talking a really
$6,000.
nominal. I
Yeah,
think
it's
even
not,
less.
it's not a lot.
$6,000 is the total, is probably the total tax amount. Of that, you get 20%. So, you know, we're talking about literally under a couple $1,000. And once the first house is built, you'll have a net positive just on that alone. But it would be a dramatic windfall if the project, you know, when the project gets built.
Do you think you
But
can
there is the issue of the A and B fund, which I'll look at Rich, because it's something as municipal lawyers we scratch our heads with pretty much every day. And you know,
Well, it's an odd law, because basically,
It is.
out of 900 towns plus in the state, all the villages contribute to the police department, with the exception of towns inside of Suffolk County, which they can afford to do, and Fallsburg. That's it.
because of the, you know,
I don't know who legislated that or anything, but it's just,
look, I sat in your chair for many years, I know that frustration. The only I can tell you is that overall, I think these 2 projects bring a lot, you know, the 229,000 becomes very negligible. You're talking about millions and millions of dollars in new assessment that would be added to your roll. Even though you're gonna only get a portion, it's still millions of dollars of assessment into the town.
I mean, the long term,
Yeah.
that's true,
Mhm.
yes. Trying to cover my budget for the next year or two, you know?
So my kind of takeaway, I'll certainly answer any other questions, but my takeaway is really, if I can get, you want me to get a letter from the village about their willingness to provide services.
I don't know.
And by the way, going forward, those services may be another potential revenue source for the town, could be outside user agreements with the village for the services to at least not be outside of it.
Well, I think they're trying to get us a good rate for the Davos folks. You know, I mean, a good rate, I mean.
On their
if I say on their side, they're charging us, and
building
we're
collections
subsidizing,
doesn't-
and then the rest of the district has to subsidize that rate, and, you know, so.
Might be a good opportunity to kind of get that out.
Right, so if we can find some
Recording in
equitable
progress.
solution,
Yeah,
that.
no, absolutely. That's
I'm
all.
open.
On the other two parcels on the Terry Lake Road side, obviously, I don't think they're somewhat near a water district, I think, in the town, but I don't know that it would probably make sense to do that, those would be all village services.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it. I'll get the letter.
Thanks. All right, and with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion.
Second.
We are adjourned.